It is Sunday, August the 31st, 1997. It's a day you won't forget because the tragic news you're waking up to this morning is that the Princess of Wales has died in a car crash in Paris. Diana suffered massive internal injuries in the accident. It happened just after midnight. She was taken to hospital but later died. Her companion, Dodi Fayed, was killed at the scene. The pair are believed to have been trying to escape the attention of the paparazzi when their car hit a wall in a tunnel under the River Seine. Their chauffeur was also killed. A royal bodyguard was injured. The young princes have been told of their mother's death. The Queen and the Prince of Wales are said to be deeply shocked and distressed. The Prime Minister, Tony Blair, has said he is utterly devastated. He added Diana was a wonderful, warm and compassionate person who people, not just in Britain, but throughout the world, loved, and she'll be mourned as a friend. Devastating news this morning, and we at GMTV, on behalf, of course, of the whole nation, would like to extend our sympathy to the Princes William and Harry, and of course the rest of the royal family. Lots of you will be in shock this morning. We'll be going live to Paris throughout the morning, and we'll be joined by our correspondents at home and abroad. But first, Palatish has the events of what turned out to be a tragic night.
This is all that's left of the Mercedes which was carrying Princess Diana and Dodi Fayed. Eyewitnesses say the car entered an underground tunnel near the Eiffel Tower at high speed and hit a wall. Mr. Fayed is believed to have died at the scene. The princess was taken to intensive care where she died in the early hours of this morning from massive internal injuries. It appears the driver, who also died, was trying to shake off at least 5 paparazzi following on motorbikes. They're now being questioned by police. Diana and the Harrods heir were believed to have been heading for a house in the centre of the French capital when the crash happened. They'd just had dinner at the Ritz. The couple had arrived in Paris yesterday afternoon at the end of their second Mediterranean cruise together, sailing around the French Riviera and the coast of Sardinia. The princess had been expected to travel back to London shortly to see her 2 sons after their holiday in Balmoral with their father. The 2 princes have been told of her death.
We'll be hearing more about the reaction of the 2 princes later on in the programme when we go to Scotland. But for the latest now, I'm joined live from Paris by Reuters correspondent Claire Cunilla. Good morning to you, Claire.
Good morning.
Hi. Now, obviously, you've been in Paris all night, terrible night. How did it develop from where you were standing?
Well, the tragic news of the princess's death broke at 4 o'clock this morning. It was the head doctor at the intensive care unit at the Hotel Salpêtrière who said that she had died of a heart failure and massive chest bleeding. The accident occurred just after midnight. The princess was brought to the hospital after being removed from the very damaged Mercedes-Benz, which had smashed into the inside wall of that underground tunnel. Everybody is still in shock. The millionaire Dodi Fayed actually died on impact or very soon afterwards. The princess brought to the hospital. The team there worked for 2 hours to try and save her life, but it wasn't enough, and then at 4 o'clock she was pronounced dead. As I said, terrible shock. The reaction is that it's just a terrible tragedy. At the time of her death, the people who were at the hospital included the British ambassador, Sir Michael Jay, and his wife, the British Consul General, the Interior Minister of France, and the head of the police here in France. The Interior Minister of France said, in the name of the French government, I express my great sorrow and pain. Obviously, the thoughts of most people here are going out to the family of Princess Diana.
Claire, we're hearing all sorts of reports over here that it happened following a chase by the paparazzi. We've heard there was up to 30 paparazzi. We've heard perhaps 5 have been detained by police. What do you know about that?
Yes, the police have said that they have detained several paparazzi after the accident. The initial reports were that the car was being pursued as it went into that tunnel. We do know that the car was going at a great speed. People talk about over 100 miles per hour. Now, fast driving is not uncommon in Paris, and especially along that stretch of the Seine. But nonetheless, it does seem that the pursuit of the motorcyclist would have perhaps pushed the driver of the car to go even that bit faster. The police have opened a criminal investigation. They're not saying who they have detained nor who they work for, but it is known that there were many photographers, many paparazzi outside the Ritz Hotel where the princess and Dodi Fayed had been dining earlier in the evening.
Yeah, we know, Claire, that in fact the British ambassador, Sir Michael Jay, announced the news of Diana's death earlier on this morning. There he is.
The death of the Princess of Wales fills us all with deep shock and with deep grief. And our thoughts and our prayers are with her family and her friends, and with the family and friends of the others who died in the accident. The Queen and the Prince of Wales and the Prime Minister have been informed of the accident and of the death of the Princess of Wales. I should like to take this opportunity to thank the Minister and the French authorities and the medical team here at this hospital for all they have done tonight at the time of this terrible tragedy. Thank you.
Sir Michael J. there, the British ambassador to France. And Clark, it is indeed a terrible, terrible tragedy. Was she alone when she died?
Well, it's not exactly clear who exactly was at the bedside. As I said, obviously none of her immediate family were there. Prince Charles was informed of the death by a phone call to his holiday estate in Balmoral. His sons obviously were not here. And we know that Mohammed Al Fayed, the father of Dodi Al Fayed, who owns Harrods store, is flying out to Paris. But it does seem that the princess, while not maybe alone at the time of her death, obviously did not have any of her immediate family around her.
Yes, you mentioned Mohammed Al Fayed there. We heard that he left his Surrey home as soon as he heard the news. Has he arrived yet, Clara, do you think?
We don't know whether he's arrived. He hasn't been seen yet at the hospital, obviously. Obviously, he'll be making his way here as quickly as possible. But at the moment, he hasn't been seen.
And what has the reaction been like in France?
Well, the reaction is one of total shock. It's partly because it is a sort of wonderful love story that's gone terribly wrong. It's a terribly tragic accident to have happened. And added to that is the fact that if the initial reports are true, it does seem that the irony of it is that something that Princess Di herself was always conscious of, this pressure from the press. Only last week in an interview with the French daily Le Monde, she talked about this pressure. She said that the press is ferocious. She said it pardons nothing. And she said as well that she would have left Britain long ago because of the intensity of that pressure within Britain from the tabloids, from the paparazzi, except for her sons. So the irony of it all is that she was actually outside Britain when this terrible event took place.
Now, we've been talking about the paparazzi, and as you said earlier on, several of them have been detained. Have the police said anything more about what they're doing about that?
They've said that they've opened a criminal investigation. They haven't gone any further than that. We don't know who the people on the motorcycle were. We know that there was one motorcycle that was very badly damaged at the scene, but it's not clear who was on it, how many people were there. Those are details that presumably will come out later in the day as the criminal investigation gets underway.
And do we know yet, Claire, what's going to happen to the bodies of Diana and Dodi Fayed?
Presumably they will be, the body of Diana will be returned to England. We're not sure yet when that's likely to happen. It won't be for a considerable, several hours anyway. And as for Dodi Al Fayed, that has not yet been said what is going to actually happen to the body, but it will take some time.
Yeah, okay, Clarny Cunula in Paris. Thanks very much for joining us this morning, and I'm sure we'll be hearing from you again throughout the morning. Thanks for joining us. 9 minutes past 6 now, and of course our hearts go out to the young princes William and Harry, and the Queen, the Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Charles and the two princes are at Balmoral for the royal family's traditional August holiday. We can cross now live to Edinburgh and join our correspondent Stephen Jardine. Good morning to you, Stephen.
Good morning, Fiona.
Now we've heard, because the Queen has released a statement, that they obviously have heard. How was the news broken to them?
Our understanding is that the French ambassador to Britain called Balmoral shortly after the accident and passed on news of the crash to the Queen's private secretary there. He woke the Queen, the Duke of Edinburgh and the Prince of Wales and passed on the news to them. The Prince of Wales then woke his sons.
The Prime Minister was kept in touch throughout the night. He described Princess Diana as a wonderful, warm and compassionate person, loved by people throughout the whole news.